Emotional intelligence matters, especially when it comes to interviewing, earning offers, doing well in your job, getting promoted, and at some point being someone that hires other people. The reason being is that emotional intelligence is your ability to connect with people in an empathic way, understand what you're feeling, communicating that so the other person understands what you're feeling, being able to understand what they're feeling and listening in a way where you understand what they're feeling. So the two of you can create a successful interaction. There's four components to emotional intelligence that make it really, really, really important to understand the reason why emotional intelligence plays a role in successful interviewing, being on the job, performing, being part of a team. And it goes beyond that. It helps you in being a better family member and being a better partner. It's the cornerstone for how people are with people. And those four components are one, self-awareness, right? Having the ability to understand what drives you, who you are, what challenges you're facing right now. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Why? Being able to look inside of yourself and understand yourself. Secondly, is self-control. Being able to tell yourself, today I'm going to study for 60 minutes. Today I'm gonna reverse engineer recruiting, reverse recruiting for 60 minutes. Today I'm going to work out and hit the gym, but actually make it on the time that I said I would. It's being able to direct yourself and put yourself in the positions you want to be in versus letting the world around you influence you all the time. The other two components are about the person that you're interacting with at any given moment. Is social awareness, so understanding another person's feelings, thoughts, what's motivating them, being able to see them clearly, especially being able to hear them when they speak. And then secondly, influence. So you can say this is the opposite of self-control because you're essentially influencing the other person or trying to control the other person. But depending on your intentions, that can be good or bad. It can be manipulation or it could be influence. So we want to focus on influence. How does what we say, do, express influence the other person in a positive way to help you get the outcomes you want, but also to help them get the outcomes they want so the two of you can collaborate and connect. So what you really want to be able to do is understand how emotional intelligence is a skill to develop over time. How do you become more self-aware? You self-reflect more. Take a journal. Ask yourself the hard questions that you're not asking yourself right now. Like, what do you want out of this next job? Why do you want this next job? What's important in this next job and the jobs you've had in the past? What is it that you're trying to accomplish? Self-control. So how do you create the habits that you want? Is it an alarm that you have to set? Is it a checklist? Is it some sort of taskmaster? How do you get yourself in the place where you say no to the things that aren't for you and yes for the things that are? So that way you can show up fully committed to the goals you have for yourself. Social awareness and influence, it's really about taking the time to understand the people around you, listening to them, not overpowering them with your situation, and then being able to offer solutions when you can and communicate in a way where you're negotiating on good terms and on good faith. And so when you start to take all of this into perspective, you realize that interviewing and connecting with the recruiters and hiring managers is just one big practice of emotional intelligence. And if you're able to move through those relationships in a healthy way, then you're exercising or demonstrating a lot of healthy emotional intelligence. For those of us that have grown through tough situations in our past, tough challenges in our childhood, we become highly emotionally intelligent because we're having to constantly check ourselves and make sure that we know for a fact what it is that we're after and what we're trying to do next. What is it that we want to interview for and what we don't want to interview for, and how do we want people to interact with us? How do we want to move forward in our lives? These are all tough questions to ask yourself, but in the context of interviewing, you can see that when a recruiter is asking you to tell me about yourself, right? What they're asking you is how much do you know, or how aware are you of where you are in this moment and what is it that's relevant to share? Same with what are some of your biggest roadblocks in the past, or what are some of the biggest challenges you've solved in your job with your skill set, whatever it may be. Your ability to understand that question, understand yourself, right? Practicing social awareness and then practicing self-control to deliver the right information, or your ability to understand that interviewer or that recruiter which is exercising social awareness, knowing what they want, what they need, and then influencing them in a way where they know they can brag about you to the rest of the hiring team. That's the reason why emotional intelligence is so important in this process and even on the job. The people that get promotions, the people that become team leaders, they're the highly emotionally intelligent people in the world that have this magnetism, charisma, whatever it may be. And it's not dependent on whether or not you're an introvert or an extrovert. It's how are you communicating? How are you exercising that social awareness, that self-awareness to influence and to control yourself and to be someone that's making proactive decisions, conscious decisions with all this information that people can't necessarily see or put on a piece of paper, which is what's going on inside, right? So the more you practice understanding that self-reflection is important and asking yourself the hard questions, the more you ask people around you the hard questions in a way where it doesn't make them feel uncomfortable, the more you'll be able to use that emotional intelligence to your advantage.